Cognition refers to the mental process of knowing or understanding, and putting this into the cognitive theory, it means it's an attempt to explain human behavior by understanding someone's thought process. This theory can be broken down into two primary cognitive systems. One's called rational and the other is called intuitive. Rational cognitive system relies on reason as a means of knowing, and it is the cognitive basis for mathematical and linguistic intelligence. The intuitive cognitive system allows for one to attain knowledge directly without the need for reason. In other words, someone sees something and just instantly knows what it is or what it means. Now these two systems can work together or separately, and putting them together is the information gained from intuitive and visual cognition can subsequently be considered using rational process to develop a reasonable response. In this way, the independent intuitive and rational process are integrated together or balanced. And these two systems use someone's perception, memory, imagination, and logic, but will differ from person to person because everyone thinks differently and can come up with a different response based on using the cognitive theory.
Omnifacism has many relevant theories to understand cognitive thought processing, such as bicameral mind by Julian Jaynes and the left brain, right brain from Bogan and Sperry. Bicameral mind defined two legislatures, one with visions intertwined to a divine source like gods and goddesses, and the other to the corporal world revolved around our decision-making and actions carried out during our everyday. The right and left brain, however, it introduced the idea of two different hemispheres of the brain for cognitive processing. The left, which was seen as rational intelligence, processed verbal information, and this was seen as the more dominant side. The right, however, was more intuitive intelligence and processed visual information. However, in the 1960s, Bogan made many procedures to test and sever the corpus callosum, finding that the subjects in the brain were perfectly split, which debunked the idea that the left hemisphere was more important and more dominant than the right side. In order to fully understand cognitive theory, it's important to understand omniphasic theory first. Now, omniphasic theory can best be broken down into 6 different points or postulates. The first one says that human intuitive and rational intelligences complement one another as equal and parallel cognitive processes that operate independently but are integrated. So basically saying that both forms of arguments can be equal, whether you use logic to defend your argument or defend your argument for being common knowledge in your estimation. An example could be doing a math problem in your head as opposed to actually showing your work. The second postulate states that rational and intuitive intelligences are equally complex and equally significant to the balanced whole brain functions of a human being. So this brings about that whether an argument seems forced or well thought out, there's a lot of studying and interpretation in both arguments. An example could be someone saying Michael Jordan is the best basketball player ever because he averaged the most points ever, 6-0 in the finals, 6 finals MVPs, and so on, as opposed to someone saying LeBron James is the best basketball player ever because they believe he just does more on the basketball court. In this example, the side for Jordan would be rational and the side for LeBron would be intuitive. Postulate 3 says that a significant bias exists against the development and maintenance of intuitive intelligences throughout our scientific, economic, educational, and cultural systems. This is the first point that sort of breaks the balance per se. Since intuitive reasoning doesn't really include stats or analytics to defend it, there is believed to be some bias. It would be like saying Pepsi is better than Coca-Cola when you know that you drink Pepsi 99% of the time, that there is a soda beverage available and you choose to have one.
Postulate 4 states, this bias has created an experiential and psychological intuitive intelligence void in our culture that promotes intuitive illiteracy and leaves us cognitively unbalanced, lacking and longing for completion as whole beings. This basically means that the bias mentioned in Postulate 3 has shaped society by creating a void or lack of belief in intuition and intuitive intelligence. And without this, we are incomplete. I would equate this to losing a sense like taste or smell. Postulate 5 states that this intuitive literacy has opened the door for the media to be used as the educational exploitation system for intuitive intelligences. The power of the media to persuade and shape lives and cultures lies in their ability to develop intuitive communication processes that effectively fill this intuitive void. This basically means because of this incompleteness, we are easily shaped by the media and the things that we hear and see, and that the media fills this intuitive void. An example of postulate 5 would be us being the clay and the media being the clay maker and shaping us and molding us into the things that we hear and see from the media. So postulate says development of a holistic educational model that embraces a balanced curriculum, developing both intuitive and rational intelligences as equivalent and complementary, has the potential to prepare a more balanced, fully educated, self-determining individual, less susceptible to manipulative media influences, and better prepared to apply classroom experiences to life experiences in ways that generate balance within the individual and thus within the cultural system subsequently developed. So this basically means that a model is used to help the individual become more complete and better as a person by creating a balance between the rational and intuitive intelligences. An example I would give with this is a religious figure who embodies the perfection that humans chase and try to achieve, and teaching them to be the same way.
There are many ways that cognitive theory appears in everyday life. For some, it can be effectively used in their careers. Therapists sometimes use cognitive theory to help their patients identify some of their harmful thought patterns and then help them shape those patterns into constructive ones. Everyone uses cognitive theory, whether they realize it or not. Things like our memory, perception, and even the way we make decisions are all examples of how cognitive theory is used in everyday life. Looking both ways before crossing the street, remembering your coffee order, and even deciding what to wear in the morning based on the weather are all decisions that we make using cognitive thinking. Based off the reading, some scholars suggest that cognitive processes have a remarkable connection to vision, since things like reading, music and sounds, and even voices have many visual notations that we pick up. Anything in life that we see and have to process in our brains is where cognitive theory comes to life.